Melissa Rose, and I'm a Blue Coat Scientist at Science North. Today, I have a very fun science demonstration to show you all about consumers in ecosystems. And today you're going to learn what you can tell about an animal just by looking at its poop. For today's activity, you're going to need a few materials. We're going to be making a little snack to wrap up what we learned about animal digestion. You're going to need a bowl, a mixing spoon, a plate or a baking sheet, some oats, peanut butter or an alternative, honey, cocoa powder, and some yummy stuff to add to your cookies, like dried fruit, chocolate chips, coconut flakes, nuts, or Nutella, whatever you already have. For these treats, you can change out any of the ingredients if you have any allergies or there's something you just don't like. Let's talk about energy, where it comes from and where it goes. We all get our energy from the sun, but we as humans don't get our energy directly from the sun. Plants and trees and other types of vegetation get their energy directly from the sun. They are called producers because they make or produce their own food. Living things that have to eat or get their energy from other living things are called consumers. Examples of these are herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores. Herbivores are living things that only eat plants, so they get all their energy from plants. So example, a moose or a deer would be an example of a herbivore. A carnivore only eats or gets their energy from meat, so like a snake, a hawk, or a cougar. And omnivores are species that get their energy or eat both plants and meat. So an example would be a mouse, a bear, or a human. But the energy doesn't just stop at the top of the food chain. This is where the decomposers come in. Decomposers like snails, fungi, and bacteria are living things that will take organic material like dead leaves, dead animals, or even poop, and break it down to give the nutrients back to the ground for the plants to absorb. There's a special type of decomposer that feeds primarily on poop. They're called detritivores, and they play an important role in the food chain. They eat poop and return the nutrients to the ground. They're the final link that brings everything full circle. Thanks, decomposers and detritivores. Speaking of poop, or waste, one cool way to distinguish between types of consumers in an ecosystem is by analyzing their waste. Everybody poops! Part of being a living thing is that our bodies need to get rid of waste that we don't need. Excreting waste is the final destination of the food that we eat as it travels through our digestive systems. So let's talk about poop and where it comes from. Our mouth. No, really. Poop is the last step in the digestive system. The first step is our mouth and our teeth. When we eat food, we don't just swallow it all in one go. We chew it. And the teeth in our mouth help us eat the specific types of food that humans eat. But not all animals have teeth like us. So looking at the teeth of an animal is another cool way we can tell what type of consumer it is. Let's take a look at the teeth of a herbivore. A deer is a herbivore. They eat grass, bark, twigs, berries, young trees, and other types of vegetation. If we take a closer look at the teeth of this deer, they're flat. Flat teeth are great for grinding up vegetation. The front teeth kind of look like a human's front teeth. Those teeth are specifically designed for picking leaves and other greens. Now, let's take a look at the teeth of a carnivore. With teeth like the deer, an animal would have a tough time catching and eating meat. That's why carnivore species have special teeth to help them with this task. Look closely at the teeth. They're much different than the teeth of the deer. This animal has very sharp teeth for catching and tearing meat. Any guesses of what species this may be? It's a gray wolf. The gray wolf is a carnivore, primarily hunting animals like deer, hare, and even moose. Lastly, let's look at the teeth of an omnivore. Using your tongue, feel the teeth inside your mouth. Are they sharp like a wolf or flat like a deer? They're both. Remember, humans are omnivores, so just like this bear, we have sharp teeth, including the sharp canine teeth, that are great for tearing meat, and we have flat molars at the back that are great for grinding up veggies. Based on what we've seen from looking at the different types of consumer skulls, an animal's teeth is a great way to be able to identify a species' eating habits. Once that food passes through the digestive system, it becomes poop or waste. When studying the waste of animals, you use the term scat. Scat is one of the most important signs to look for when tracking animals. All mammals leave scat in one form or another. An animal's scat can not only tell us what animal left the feces or the poop behind, but also what they eat, how healthy the animal is, and where they spend most of their time. Different species of animals have different kinds of scat. Being able to identify animals by their scat is a great skill, very useful for scientists studying animal populations. We know that not all animal scat is the same. There are many different shapes, sizes, colors, and contents. Animal scat can be used to determine what type of consumers are found in a habitat. By looking at these two scat samples, if you guess that they're from different species, you're correct. The category of consumers that we will be identifying are herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores. First, let's focus on how to identify a herbivore. The first characteristic we can look for to help us identify what animal scat left the scat is to look at the shape. Let's look at this first sample. If you see a scat like this on your walks, don't mistake it for some chocolate-covered almonds. It is, in fact, poop. Because this scat is in pellets, we know it's likely from a herbivore. Next, you can look at what is left over in the scat. A herbivore is an animal that feeds on plants, which means the scat left behind by herbivores will most likely have grass or other plant particles still visible in it. Moose, deer, rabbits, and squirrels are all herbivores, as they only eat vegetation. Any guesses what animals could have left these pellets behind? A moose. This scat sample is from a moose. A deer would leave behind a very similar scat, since it's also a herbivore, but it would be smaller, so more like chocolate-covered raisins. This means another characteristic to look at is the size of the scat. The size of an animal's scat can also tell us something about the animal. Typically, the larger the animal, the larger its scat. So I want you to think about the biggest animal you can think of. I'm thinking of the blue whale, the largest animal on the planet. When it has a bowel movement, it releases about 200 liters of poop. To give you an idea of the scale, that's about a bathtub full of poop. Now, let's look at another type of consumer, carnivores. Based on what we've learned so far, we know that whatever animal left this scat is most likely not a herbivore. Let's look at the shape and what's in it and its size. Notice how the shape of this poop is not pellets, but instead it's elongated and tapered at the ends. This actually suggests that the animal is a meat eater. When an animal's diet is based on meat, they are carnivores. Cougars, minks, and wolves are all examples of carnivores in Canada. If you were to break apart and examine the scat, you can sometimes find remnants of the prey that these animals have eaten. So like fur and bone fragments that get passed all the way through the digestive systems. So now that you've seen a herbivore and a carnivore, what if an animal eats both meat and plants? As humans, our diets generally include meat and vegetation. These species are called omnivores. This is a scat sample from an omnivore. Humans, bears, and raccoons are all examples of omnivores. This is actually scat from a black bear. If you see this scat on a trail, be extra careful, because it's likely that there's a bear in the area. The shape and appearance of this scat can change daily based on what the animal is consumed. Typically, omnivore scat is granular looking, tends to be more cylindrical or tube-shaped, and it's segmented, so in pieces. The black bears here in Ontario eat a lot of berries. This makes their poops soft, leaving them to look more like patties than a solid sample like this one. So far we've seen a herbivore, a carnivore, and an omnivore, but there's one more category of consumer. It's called a specialized decomposer, the detritivores. Remember, a detritivore is an animal that feeds on dead organic material and tissue, and poop. An example that you may have seen before is an earthworm. That's right, a worm. The common earthworm is a detritivore that eats poop and poops out dirt. Soil that's rich in worm castings, so worm droppings, worm poop, is great for growing new plants, since the worm has broken down the nutrients stored in the plants and animal matter and returned it into the soil to be used by new life. Using this knowledge of animal scat, we're one step closer to identifying all the amazing species that may be in our neighborhoods. So the question of the day today is, have you ever seen animal scat? Next time you do, try and identify if it's a herbivore, a carnivore, or an omnivore. For the activity today, we're going to be making poop cookies. As consumers ourselves, we need to keep our energy up by making some yummy energy-filled snacks. Combine a cup of peanut butter, or an alternative, three cups of oats, half a cup of honey, and the amount of cocoa powder you would like in a bowl, and stir until well mixed. Next, place the bowl in the fridge for 15 to 20 minutes. While the mixture is chilling, gather ingredients to specialize your scat cookies. Take the mixture out of the fridge. Now we can start shaping our poop or scat cookies. I'm going to be replicating scat from 3 animals that I like: a moose, a wolf, and a bear. But feel free to replicate the scat of your favorite animals. Just do some research to learn more about what it looks like and what the animal eats. So to make wolf scat, we know that wolves are generally carnivores, so they eat meat. This means that its scat will be elongated and tapered at the end. Add in additional treats to your cookie that can represent what they may have eaten. So I'm going to add some coconut shreds to represent the hair of a prey animal, and some white chocolate chips to identify or to represent the bone that may be left over. Repeat the process for more animals until you've used up all of your cookie mix. For the bear scat, they're an omnivore. I'm going to make them cylindrical, and I'm going to put some berries in it, and some chocolate chips. For the moose scat, it's a herbivore, so I'm going to make it pebble-shaped with grass and other vegetation in it. I'm going to use green sprinkles. Once your cookies are shaped, they can go on a plate or on a tray, and you can store them in the fridge. Last but not least, these poop cookies are ready to eat. Thank you so much for joining me for Science at Home. I had a great time teaching you about producers, consumers, and decomposers. I hope you had fun learning about animal scat. Have a great day!